Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster and I thought I'd do another dehydrating video, this time using fruit. I've got some apples, some bananas, some pears and a couple of tins that I thought I'd give a try as well. This stuff makes really good trail food. It's the sort of thing you can stick in a Ziploc bag, make it just before you go away camping, and it's just something to sort of keep you sustained while you're sort of trekking through the woods or whatever it is you're doing. Again, it's fairly simple. It's very similar to the to dehydrating vegetables, which is one of my other videos. And to start off with, all you really need to do is get all your stuff chopped and peeled. Now, when you're chopping these things down, you want to try and keep things quite thin, probably no more than about 1/4 of an inch, so that they dry nice and evenly. So what I'll do, I'll make a start on the chopping, and we'll go from there. Right, so that's everything peeled and chopped. What we've got is, well, basically we've got a bowl of apples, a bowl of bananas and a bowl of pears. And what we really want to do at this point, to try and attempt to stop those from going brown, what you want is to get some warm water, such as I've got here, and some lemon juice. Now you don't have to do this, but it does help during the drying process to stop things from actually going brown. So I've got in here about 3/4 of a pint of water, and I will put probably 4 or 5 large tablespoons of lemon juice. There we go. And don't worry too much about this if you don't like lemon. You don't tend to get the flavour coming into it, so you won't really notice the flavour of the lemon once it's dehydrated. And all you want to do is just pour this over your fruit, probably leave it for 5 to 10 minutes just to let it soak in. You can mix it around a little bit later on, just make sure everything gets a good coating. And just leave that to soak, as I say, 5 to 10 minutes. Something I'm going to try today that I've not done before, I'm going to try and dehydrate some tinned fruit. So here I've got some peach and some mango slices. Mango is probably one of my favourite dehydrated fruits. Really good for trail food. But this is something I've not tried before. I'm reliably informed by people on the internet that, that this works really well. These are both in a light syrup. Some people say they wash it off, other people tend to leave it on. And I'm going to try leaving it on because obviously it'll add a little bit of a sweetness to to the fruit once it's dehydrated. And what you want to do is drain off the juice from these tins. Now you can save this. I don't have anything I can use it for at present, so I'm just going to tip it. But you can make kind of jams and things out of this juice. You can make sauces, or you can just drink it, to be perfectly honest. And as before, you've got dehydrator, and obviously you've got the dehydrating trays, as we've seen before. Move this around a little bit so you can see better. Okay, so start off with, I mean, these chunks are fairly small. I mean, they're not huge. If I was cutting this down from normal fruit, I'd probably cut them a little bit thinner, but it shouldn't be a problem to have them this sort of size. Okay, so that's the peaches. They're quite soft, so hopefully they'll dehydrate reasonably well. They've still got a little bit of a sheen of that syrup on there, which will hopefully make them nice and sweet. And we'll give the mango a try. There we go, and there is the mango. Again, a little bit thicker than I would normally cut it, but these are quite soft because they've been kept in syrup. So hopefully these will dehydrate down quite nicely with a nice sweet taste to them. And what I've got next is I'm basically just going to add. These have been soaking in here sort of almost 5 minutes now. The lemon is literally just to stop things from turning a little bit brown. They will go a little bit, but yeah, that kind of is what it is, but it just helps to prevent that a bit. So I'll get these all loaded onto the trays, and we'll go from there. Right, so that's all of the trays now filled. I'll give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So this is the pears. Below that, another layer of pears. We've got the banana, and the thing with this, you don't need to worry too much about having things touching, provided there's enough air gaps around there for the air to blow through evenly. You should be absolutely fine. And then we've got about 4 trays worth of the apples, and all I want to do now is get this plugged in and start rolling, and this will probably take anything between 10 to, I mean, potentially with the tinned fruit in there, it could take up to 24 hours. So that's a new thing for me. I've not tried that before, so we'll give it a go. I'll come back in a couple of hours and we'll see how we're getting on. Right guys, we're about 6 hours in. I've changed the trays a couple of times, and things are moving forward. Just to give you an idea, this is the apple. Now this is mostly done now, to be honest. These thicker pieces still have a little bit of way to go, whereas the smaller bits, these are pretty much done. What you can do when you get to this point, if you've got bits that are done and they're ready, you can take those out, put them aside, let them cool down a little bit. Alternatively, you can leave them in there if you want to dry them out a lot more. So that's the apple. Mango is still on its way. It's still quite thick. There's still quite a lot of moisture left in there, so they'll need to carry on going. The peaches, same thing. You've got the small little one here, which is pretty much done. Obviously the bigger, thicker pieces are going to take longer to dry out. And again, this is the first time I've done this with tinned fruit, and in hindsight I probably should have cut these in half, made them a little bit thinner. So that's a lesson learned for me for next time. And then we've got the pear, and again, similar to the apple, the thicker pieces have still got a bit of moisture in there that needs to come out.
The thinner pieces are pretty much done, so what I'll do is I'll take these out before I get it back going again. And it just frees up a little bit more room, a little bit more airflow in here. And lastly, we've got the banana. Now, I don't know if you can see that on here very well. It doesn't look particularly appetising. Smaller ones like this, basically done. Some of the thicker ones like this have still got quite a bit of moisture in there that needs to carry on going. Now, one thing I did want to say on this, it depends what you want to use this fruit for. Now, the things like the banana, I tend to dry out entirely. I do that because I quite like banana chips. They're a little bit crunchy, and that's how I like them. Things like the banana and the apple, if you want to have them still a little bit soft, a little bit chewy, wait until they're almost completely dry with still just a little bit of a spring in there. You can take those out, and as long as you eat those within between a few days and a week, and you store them properly in a Ziploc bag or an airtight jar, that's absolutely fine. If you want to store them more long term, or you're going away for a long trip or something like that and you want to take them as a sort of trail food with you, then what I'd suggest is drying them out completely. You can drop these into a cup of water and let them rehydrate. It's entirely up to you. But I tend to either have them completely dry and just have them as a sort of a crunchy snack if I want to store them, or if I want to keep them for a longer period. If I want to use them for eating quite quickly, quite shortly, then I'll leave a little bit of sort of bounce in there, so to speak, and it just makes them a little bit more chewy. But what I'll do, I'll get all this back on. I'll take out the bits that are completely done, and we'll come back once they're finished. Hi guys, right, so this is now finished. It's taken about 15 hours all in. It was a little bit less than I thought it would do, but this is how it goes sometimes. And what we've got, this is these are the peaches. I actually caved in a little bit and cut these and the mangoes down a little bit. They were taking quite a while to dry, and there were some big thick spots, so I just basically sort of sliced those off and put those in separately. Now these are almost completely dried out. They have got a little bit of a sort of a sticky feel to them, which would be the syrup that was on them obviously when they came out of the can. In hindsight, if I'm going to store these for any sort of long period, I will probably put these, rinse them off when I put out the tin first. Though to be honest, I'm going to eat these quite quickly anyway, so for the purpose of this it doesn't really matter. The other thing I have noticed with this, and also the mango, which is obviously very similar, you've got this kind of a bit of a sheen to it. It's a little bit sticky. They're still not 100% dried all the way through. They're about 95% done, which is fine because they're a little bit chewy. Though what I am thinking is, if I make these in the future, what I might do is leave the syrup on there, chop them down into much smaller, almost bite-sized pieces, and it basically the equivalent of sort of candied fruit, which might be quite nice as a bit of a trail snack or just something at home. And then these two, so we've got the apples here, completely dehydrated. These are bone dry. Same with the pears here. So these can go straight into storage if that's what I want to do with them. As I say, to be honest, this is quite a small batch in comparison to what I'd normally make. So most of this will be eaten within the next few days anyway, so I don't need to worry about storing them in airtight jars. If I wanted to keep them longer, then obviously it'd be either Ziploc bags or sort of something like a Kilner jar. And finally, you've got the banana chips. Now I have only just taken these off, as they are a little bit warm, but you should hopefully, not sure if the microphone picks that up, but these are absolutely bone dry. So once they've cooled down a little bit and that sort of malleability's gone, they'll just snap right in half, and they're quite a nice sort of crunchy snack. Anyway, I hope that was useful. I will do another one of these videos at some point covering meats, so things like beef jerky, biltong, that kind of thing. Anything else you want to see me do, by all means put a note in the comments, and hopefully see you next time. Thanks.